Good morning, friends. I welcome you all to the online C class. So today our discussion is about files. So already we have had two classes on files. In the first class we have discussed about what is the advantage of using files in C programs and what are the different types of files supported by the C language and what are the differences between those files and what operations can be performed on the files and what are the functions supported from the C library to perform operations on the files. So these are the things that we have discussed in the last class, in the last classes. And we have also discussed how to write a character to the file and how to read the character from the file and how to open a file and how to close a file after performing all the operations. So all these topics have been covered in the last two classes on files. So this is the lecture 3 on files. Here we are going to discuss few more functions which can be used to perform read and write operations on the files. And this lecture covers the topics of writing a character, writing and reading integers to or from the file, how we have to write integer values to the file and how we have to read integer values from the file. So that is covered, and we will discuss one sample program on the files for writing integers to the file and to read integers from the file. A complete C program we are going to discuss. And then we will discuss formatted input and output functions which can be used to write formatted data to the file and the function which is used to read formatted data from the file. So these functions are fprintf function and fscanf function. Fprintf function is used to write formatted data to the file. Fscanf is used to read formatted data from the file. And then we will discuss a complete C program demonstrating how printf, fprintf and fscanf functions are used to write formatted data to the file and to read formatted data from the file. And then we will talk about the important questions related to today's class. So let us start our discussion with the functions that are used to perform read integer values from the file and write integer values to the file. See, it is possible for us to write a list of integer values to the file. Similarly, it is also possible for us to read a list of integer values from the file. So how do we do all these things? So for that, we have some functions from the C library. We have two functions supported from C library, and these functions are called putw function and getw function. Putw function, it is used to write one integer value at a time to a specified file. Putw function is used to write only one integer value at a time to the specified file. So this putw function is very similar to the putc function which we have discussed in the last class. Putc function we have used to write one character at a time to a specified file. So similarly here we use putw function to write only one integer value at a time to a specified file. So how do we write here one integer value using putw function to a specified file? So for that we should know the prototype of the putw function. Prototype means the syntax of using putw function. The putw function is like this. Putw means name of the function, and then it receives two arguments. First argument is n. N means you can write here any variable which is declared to store some value. It may be integer type variable, it may be float type variable, or it may be character type variable, it may be double type or long double type. So it can be of any type of variable which is holding a value. So that value you can write to the file. Here n is holding an integer value, and that integer value will be returned to the specified file. And how do we specify a file to write this integer value? So for that we are using file pointer fp as the second argument in putw function. Here the second argument fp is a file pointer argument which is pointing out a file or which is referring a file on which we are performing a write operation. So this file is nothing but the file in which we are writing the integer values. So that file is pointed out by the file pointer fp. Fp is a variable of pointer type belonging to the pointer of type file data structure. And first argument is a variable which is holding some value which is to be returned to the file. So like this, if you give two arguments to the putw function, first argument is the variable containing some value, and second argument is the file pointer which is referring or pointing out a file. So then putw function will write the contents of the first variable to the file. And like in putc function, after writing an integer value to the file, automatically file pointer will be moving to the next empty location. Means where the next integer value or next double value or next character value is to be written. Means the next value is to be written at that empty position. So like that for every operation with the putw function, after writing the value in the location pointed out by the file pointer in the file, after completing writing operation at that location, and immediately it is moving to the next position, empty position, there the next value is to be written. Now once you write integer values to the file using putw function writes only one integer value at a time. And if you are having some set of values that are to be written to a file, then you have to use same putw function inside a loop. Means repeatedly you have to execute putw function so that it writes a set of values. If you wish to write 10 integer values to the file, putw function to be executed 10 times, so that 10 different integer values you can write to the file. And once after writing the integer values to the file, all these values, whatever it may be, integer values or character values or double values, long double values, these values can be of any type. So once you write values to the file, and these values are stored permanently in the file until that file is deleted by the user. That's what we discussed in the first class, that whatever information you are writing to a file, that information is preserved permanently. Means until the user deletes that particular file or file's content, your information is preserved. Means files are acting as a permanent storage for the information or for the data. And how do we read the information that we have written to the file? Here we wrote integer values to a file. Only integer values, or only float values, or only long double values we have written to the file. and the file contains only values, no text, no other set of data. Only some values are there, set of values or group of values are written to the file. Now, how do we read these set of values or group of values from the file? So, for reading these set of values or group of values, we can use getw function. So, here getw function is used to write all. Getw function is used here to read integer values one at a time from the file. Getw function is used to read only one integer value at a time from the file. PutW function we have used to write only one integer value at a time to the file. And getw function we are using to read only one integer value at a time. And how means this getw function is very similar to getc function which we have discussed in the last class. There we have used getc function to read only one character at a time from the specified file. Similarly, here we can use getw function to read only one integer value at a time from the specified file. And how do we use this getw function to read integer values? For that, we should know the prototype of getw function. Prototype means the syntax of getw function. The syntax is very simple. Here we are having a variable of some type, some data type, that is equal to getw means the function name followed by one argument inside the parenthesis. That argument is nothing but file pointer which is referring or pointing a file on which we are performing a read operation. And here the file pointer fp reads integer value from the file with the help of getw function. And getw function stores that integer value in the variable that is written on the left hand side of the assignment operator. So means getw function, whenever it is executed, it reads an integer value from a location in the file where the file pointer is pointing out. From that location in the file, getw function reads integer value and stores that integer value in the variable that is written on the left hand side of assignment operator. So this variable is usually the integer variable. Getw function is used to read only integer values, so therefore it assigns an integer value to the variable mentioned or written on the left hand side of the equal operator. So here integer value can also be stored in float type variable or double type variable, or it can be stored in long double type variable like that. But normally here we use integer. Okay, you can use variable of double data type, float type or long double type. So there you can store integer value. Now, like a getc function, getw function after reading a character, here means what it is reading is integer value. Getw after reading integer value from the file, it moves the file pointer to the next value to be read. Automatically file pointer will be moved to the next value, so that file pointer always point out the value that is to be read next from the file. And it goes on reading like that for every getw operation on the file. And when it reaches the end of the file, means when all the integer values are read from the file, getw function reads finally the EOF character. EOF means end of the file character. And once end of the file character is read by the getw function and stores in the variable on the left hand side, here we will check the contents of variable, whether that variable contains a character which is equal to end of file character or not. If getw function has read end of file character from the file and stores that value in the variable, then after checking the contents of the variable and after we found that the variable contains end of the file character, then we will stop reading. And here you have to remember that getw function reads end of the file character and assigns that EOF character to the variable on the left hand side. And we have to check this character each time we read integer value from the file to see that we have reached the end of the file or not. If you do not check, the file pointer goes on reading the contents of the file beyond the end of the file, and that cannot be detected by the operating system. So therefore you are going on receiving some junk values from the file. So if you are reading junk values from the file, the program which you are using to read the content of the file will generate some undesired results. So it is the responsibility of the user to check whether we have reached the end of the file or not when we are performing a read operation on the file. Once it is confirmed that we have reached the end of the file, then we have to stop reading. Otherwise, your program will generate wrong results, or some compiler will suddenly terminates your program. So in that case, you do not know why your program is suspended or terminated in the middle of its execution. So therefore, the responsibility lies completely on the user or the programmer who is writing the program. See, here I wrote the points that we have discussed just now. Getw returns end of the file character on reaching the end of the file. And then the file pointer moves by one character position or one value position to the right for every operation on putw and getw function. So this is what we have discussed. And now we will see an example of how to use putw function and getw function to write integer values to the file and to read integer value from the file. Here we declared two file pointer fp1 and fp2, and here we declared two integer variables n1 and n2. To the variable n1 we have already assigned some value, that is 20. Now with the help of fopen function, we are trying to open a data.txt file in write mode. And after opening the file, fopen function assigns a file pointer to the data.txt file, and that is file pointer. Now it is assigned to fp1. That file pointer is stored in variable fp1. Now fp1 is made to point out data.txt file which is opened in write mode. Now all write operations on data.txt file we can perform through the pointer fp1. And then here we have used fp2 variable, fp2 pointer variable to open a value.txt file. With the help of fopen function, we have opened value.txt file in read mode. So fopen function here, after opening value.txt file in read mode, it assigns a file pointer to the file, and that file pointer will be stored in the fp2 file pointer variable. Now fp2 is made to point out value.txt file which is opened in read mode. Now see, we are using putw function to write the content of integer variable n1. n1 contains value 20. That value 20 is returned to the file pointed out by fp1. Here fp1 file pointer is pointing out to data.txt file. Now see, we are using fp2 pointer to read integer values from the file with the help of getw function. So getw function reads integer value from the file pointed out by file pointer fp2. fp2 is pointing out a file value.txt which is opened in read mode. And from that file, it reads the first integer value and stores that integer value in N2. And now you can display the contents of N2 so that user knows which integer value is read from value.txt file. So like that, you can perform a write operation using putw function, and you can perform a read operation using getw function on the files. And after finishing your read and write operations on the file, both files, data.txt file and value.txt file, you can close with the help of the file pointer referring those files. So first statement closes data.txt file, because f close we wrote fp1. fp1 is referring which file? Data.txt file. So therefore f close function closes the file which is referred by fp1 file pointer. Then the next statement f close fp2. F close function here closes the file referred by the fp2. fp2 is referring which file? Value.txt file. So that file is also closed. So this is how now you got idea of using getw function and putw function. Here we wrote only one integer values to the file, and you read only one integer value from the file. If you wanted to write a set of integer values, you can use putw function repeatedly. And similarly, if you wanted to read a set of integer values from a file, you can use getw function repeatedly. So let us see a complete C program where we will write a set of integer values which we are taking from the user, and those set of integer values we are writing to a file. And then we will close that file after performing a write operation, means after writing all integer values to the file, we will close that file and we will reopen that file in read mode. And then after reopening that file in read mode, we will try to read integer values one by one from that file, and then we will display those integer values on the screen so that user knows what integer values have been read from the file and how they are arranged in the file. So this is the program. Let us discuss the program. See, inside the main function I have declared a file pointer fp, and then we declared integer values nai. So n we are using to know how many integer values are there with the user to write to the file. So n represent the number of integer values that the user is having which are to be returned to the file, and a is used to temporarily hold the values which are read from the file, and I is used as a loop control variable. Now with the help of the file pointer fp and fopen function, we are opening a file called data.txt file in write mode. Fopen function now searches the current working directory to check whether any file is there with the data.txt name or not. If the current working directory contains any file with that name, its content will be deleted and the file is opened in write mode as a fresh file. Means no data will be there in that file. All data will be deleted and the file is opened in write mode as a fresh file. Suppose if no file is there in the current working directory with the name data.txt, then fopen function creates a new file with the name data.txt in current working directory or present working directory, both are same, cwd or pwd. So present working directory or current working directory, both are same. So fopen function now creates a new file with the name data.txt in the present working directory and opens that file in write mode and assigns a file pointer to that file, and that file pointer is returned, means stored in the variable fp. Here fp is also declared as a file pointer. So now fp is made to point out data.txt file. Now all operations, write operations on data.txt file are performed through the file pointer fp. Here we are asking the user how many integer values are there. After seeing this statement, user will enter some value. Suppose user is having 10 values to enter. So then user will enter a value 10. Then we are instructing the computer to read that integer value and store in variable n. Now the content of variable n here represent how many values are there with the user to write to the file. Here we are asking the user to enter all integer values in the row. Once this statement is seen by the user and the user understands that he has to enter all that integer values in a row with a space between each value. So when the user is entering these integer values, we are instructing the computer to read all integer values one by one and store that integer value temporarily. First value is read and store in A. And with the help of putW function, we are writing that integer value to the file fp. Whatever file is referred or pointed out by file pointer fp, to that file we are writing the content of A. So when I value equal to 1, it reads first integer and stores in variable A. And the content of variable A is returned to the file pointed out by file pointer fp. Here fp is pointing out data.txt file. So therefore that integer value is returned to the data.txt file. So once first value is over, I value is incremented, it becomes 2. 2 is less than or equal to, suppose n value is 10, 2 is less than or equal to 2. 10, 2 is less than or equal to 10 is true. So therefore it reads next integer value and stores in A. And that integer value also we are writing to the file. And after writing the integer value to the file, so I value is incremented by 1. Now I value becomes 3. 3 is less than or equal to 10. It reads next integer value and stores inside variable A. And then that integer value is also written to the file. Then I value is incremented by 1. It becomes 4. 4 is less than or equal to 10. So statement again it is true. So like that it goes on reading each integer value from 1 to 10. All integer values are read and they are stored in the file. Means they are returned to the file. So writing integer values to the file is nothing but storing the integer values in the file. So once you write all integer values to the file, then your operation, write operation on the file is assumed to be completed. So it is the time to close that file. Once the operation is completed on the file, the best programmer always closes that file. So here we are closing the file. Closing the file. Now our job is, we have written integer values given by the user to the file data.txt file. And we have closed that file. Now our job is to read all that integer values from the file one by one. So for that we are using F. Again we are opening the file in read mode, because if you want to read the contents of the file should be opened in the read mode. So with the help of again fp pointer, same file pointer, and with the help of fopen function we are trying to open the same file because it is already closed, data.txt file in read mode. Now fopen function will open this file in the read mode and assigns a file pointer to this file, and that file pointer will be stored in the file pointer variable fp. Now fp is made to point out data.txt file, and here we are going to perform read operation on data.txt file with the help of file pointer fp. See, same file pointer previously we have used to perform write operation on this file. Now the same file pointer we are using to perform a read operation on the same file. So means file pointer can be used to perform a write operation on the file, or it can be used to perform a read operation on the file. See, now we are displaying a message on the screen that the integer values stored in the file are. Then we are trying to read in each integer value one by one with the help of getw function. Getw and the argument we have given to the getw function, that is fp. Fp is referring which file, data.txt file. So getw function reads first integer value from the file and stores in the variable A. Now we are checking the contents of variable A, whether the contents of variable is equal to the variable A is equal to the end of file character or not. If the contents of variable A is not equal to the end of the file character, we are displaying that value on the screen. And after displaying the value on the screen, again we are reading with the help of getw function next integer value and storing in the variable A. Now contents of variable is compared against EOF character. If the contents of variable a, if it is not equal to EOF character, again that integer value is also displayed on the screen. And then we read next third integer value, and that is also stored inside the variable a. Now variable a contents is compared against EOF character. If it is not equal to EOF character, it is also displayed on the screen. And this process goes on until getw reads EOF character. And EOF character value is usually equal to -1. So it stores a value -1 in the variable a. And that value is compared against EOF. So a also contains EOF, and EOF is not equal to EOF is false, then the condition becomes false. Then while loop is stopped there. Means while loop is stopped when we have reached the EOF character in the file. Means once you reach the EOF character in the file, we can take it granted that all integer values from the file are read. Means the reading operation on the file is completed. Since reading operation on the file is completed, then we can close the file. So that is what we are doing here. So fclose function here, closing the file referred by fp. fp is referring which file, data.txt. So it is closed. Since we have displayed all integer values which are there in the file, so therefore our job is over. So therefore we are closing the program. So that is what we closed the program. Now this is about how to use putw function and getw function to write characters to the file and to read integer values from the file. That is how we can use the putw function and getw function to work with integer values on the files. Now let us discuss how we write a formatted data to the file and how we read formatted data from the file. So to read formatted data from the file, already we have worked with the formatted data. We have read formatted data from the keyboard with the help of scanf function. Similarly, we have displayed formatted data on the screen with the help of printf function. So scanf function and printf function thoroughly we have used in almost all of our programs. For reading formatted data from the keyboard, we have used scanf function, and to write formatted data to the screen, we have used printf function. So scanf and printf functions are console-oriented functions. They work with keyboard and monitor to read formatted data from the keyboard and to write the formatted data to the screen. Now, how do we write formatted data to the file? How do we read formatted data from the file? For that, C library supports two functions. They are called fprintf function and fscanf function. So these functions can be used to write formatted data to the file and to read formatted data from the file. First, we discuss about fprintf function. The similar concept is applied to fscanf function. So first, we start our discussion with the fprintf function. Fprintf function is used to write the formatted data to a specified file. Formatted data means the data which is arranged in a systematic way, and that data may contain integer values, character values, double values, float values, unsigned integer values, or long double values. It can means this data means it is a mixture of all types of the data arranged in a systematic order. That data is called formatted data. All that data at a time can be returned to the file using fprintf function. But to write the formatted data to the file, we should know the prototype of fprintf function. Prototype means the syntax of fprintf function. The syntax of fprintf function is very similar to the printf function. In the printf function, we are having two arguments, control string followed by a second argument, that is variables list. So here in fprintf function, we have one more extra argument, third argument. So that is nothing but file pointer. At the beginning, you are having file pointer and followed by a control string and followed by a variable list. because fprintf is used to write to the file. So files are referred through the file pointer. We need a file pointer as an argument to the fprintf function. So first argument is the file pointer, which is pointing out a file on which we are performing a write operation. That is what you have to remember. fp is pointing out here a file on which we are performing a write operation, and followed by the file pointer we are having a control string. Since it is a string, it is enclosed inside the double quotes. Control string, you know, it is very similar to the control string we have used in printf function. Control string contains field specifications, means the format of the data that is to be written to the file. It is the combination of %d, %s, %c or any type of data. So that format, in whatever format the data is to be written to the file. So that format, field specifications we will mention here. And then followed by the variables list. So this variable lists contains the list of the variables which holds the values temporarily which are to be written to the file. So whatever content is there, content is stored inside these variables mentioned in the list. The variables content in the same order it should be written to the file. Means the number of field specifications inside the control string is equal to the number of variables here. It should always match. The number of field specifications inside the control string must be equal to the number of variables mentioned in the variable list. So that is about the fprintf function. And similar to the getw function, putw function and putc function, after performing a write operation to the file pointer is moving to the next empty position where the next formatted data is to be written. Means for every operation using fprintf function, after writing the data to the file pointer will be moving to the next empty position where the next formatted data is to be written. Then this is about the second argument, control string. This is about the third argument, control string. Whatever I discussed, I wrote here. And coming to the example, how we can use fprintf function. Here I gave example by taking the data of different data types. I declared a file pointer fp, star should be there, star is missing here, file star fp. File pointer means it should be preceded, variable name should be preceded with a star. So star is missing here, note down this. And then int a is equal to 10. I have taken a as an integer variable and I stored a value 10 inside the variable a. And I have taken another variable ch, which is declared as character type variable. Inside ch I have stored some character value x. And then I have taken another variable f, which is of type float, and I have assigned a value 5.67 to the variable f. And now I am opening a function, I am opening a file called data.txt file in write mode with the help of fopen function and the file pointer fp. Now fopen function will open data.txt file in write mode, and then assigns a file pointer to the data.txt file, and that file pointer will be stored by the fopen function on the variable mentioned on the left hand side of the equal to operator. So here we have mentioned file pointer fp. So therefore file pointer fp is made to point out data.txt file which is opened in write. Now with the help of fprintf function, we are trying to write the formatted data. Formatted data means it is a combination of or mix up of all types of data written in a systematic order. Here we have written data in a order, first integer value and then a character value, then a float value. So since integer value is specified here, first you must have in the variables list integer variable a. So means A content is written first to the file, followed by content of ch variable means character. X is written because ch contain x is written, followed by the content of f variable. F contains a float value, that float value is written 5.67 to the file. First integer and then character value and then float value. This is the order. You can select in to write the data in any order. That depends upon the application. Okay, so based on the application, you may choose to write the formatted data in a particular order. Here I have selected first integer, next character, and followed by a real value, float value. You can, based on the application, when you are writing a program, based on the requirement of the application, you can write the data in any order. But you have to remember, in whatever order you have written the information to the file, in the same order you have to read the data from the file. Then only you will get a correct data. If you are writing to the file in one particular format, in one particular order, and if you are trying to read the data from the file in another order, so you will not get correct data from the file, because there will be a mismatch of data type. So therefore, the data may not be read successfully. Sometimes the compiler immediately terminates your program in the middle of its execution. So here the most important thing that you have to remember is, in whatever order you have written the data to the file, in the same field specifications order you have to read the data from the file. So after reading the data to the file, formatted data to the file many times, after writing data many times to the file, we have closed the file because our write operation is over. So therefore we have closed the file. And like that we can write the formatted data. If you are having many lines of data to be written to the file, similarly you can use fprintf function repeatedly so that it writes data line by line in the file. Now, how do we read this formatted data from the file? To read formatted data from the keyboard, we have used scanf function. To read formatted data from the file, we use fscanf function. This fscanf function is very similar to the scanf function. So how do we use this fscanf function to read data, formatted data from the file? For that, we should know the prototype of this function. Prototype means syntax of the function. The syntax of f function is similar to the fprintf function. That is, first argument is file pointer, which is pointing out a file on which we are performing a read operation. That file is referred by fp, and followed by a control string. The control string tells the order in which the data should be read from the file. So here this control string should be equal to the control string mentioned in the fprintf function. In fprintf function, in whatever order you have mentioned the control string, in the same order you have to mention the control string here. Means the same control string should be copied from fprintf function to fscanf function. Then only the data will be read successfully from the file. Otherwise, you cannot read correct data from the file. And whatever data it is reading, all that data it will stores in the variable that is mentioned in the variable list. So each variable, since it is a scanf function, each variable name should be preceded with a ampersand symbol. That is about this fscanf function. So fscanf function is expected to receive 3 arguments. First argument is a file pointer, which is referring the file on which we are performing a read operation, and a control string specify the format of the data that is to be read from the file, and then followed by a list of arguments, list of variable names. This is the third argument, a list of variable names. Here you can have the number of variables in the list. They are separated by comma, and each variable name is preceded by a ampersand symbol. And remember, the number of variables here should be equal to the number of field specifications in the control string. It should match. The number should match. Now, like fprintf function, fscanf function, after reading a formatted data, a set of formatted data from the file pointer is automatically moved to the next formatted data in the file. Means the file pointer always pointing out the formatted data in the file which is to be read next. So for every fscanf operation, the file pointer will be moved to the next position, pointing out the next formatted data from the file. And when you are using fscanf function to read data from the file continuously, so when it reaches the end of the file, like getw function, getc function, fscanf function also returns end of the file character. Once you reach the end of the file character, you know you have to stop reading the contents of the file. It is the responsibility of the user to check whether you have reached the end of the file while you are performing read operation on the file. If you do not check it, and if you are going on reading beyond the end of the file, then you will get some junk values from the file, and sometimes your program will be terminated in the middle of its execution. So complete responsibility lies on the programmer to check whether we have reached the end of the file or not while performing the read operation on the file. Let us see how scanf function is used to read data from the file. In the same way I have declared the file pointer, star is missing here, okay, and then three variables, integer variable a and character variable ch, float variable f I have taken like in previous example, and I have opened same file data.txt file in read mode with the help of fopen function and file pointer fp. Now with the help of fscanf function I am trying to read the data from the file. So file pointer, first argument is file pointer fp pointing out data.txt file, and see the field specification is very similar to the field specification mentioned in the printf function. First I am instructing the computer to read integer value followed by a character value followed by a real value, means float value. And after reading integer value, that integer value is stored in variable a. After reading character value, it is stored in variable ch. After reading real value, it is stored in variable f. Like that you can read the data. And now variable a, variable ch, variable f, they holds the values read from the file. The content of these variables you can display on the screen with the help of printf function. And like that you can read the data from the file. So after reading complete data from the file, your read operation is over. So therefore you can close the file with the help of fclose function. That is what you can read. This is how you can use fscanf function and fprintf function. Let us see an example. A complete program using fprintf function and fscanf function. How we can write a formatted data line by line in the file, and how do we read that formatted data from the file, and that data we will display it on the screen after reading from the file. Here we will take an example of items that are there in the supermarket. Here we are trying to store the details of the items of the supermarket in the file. About each item we will store three informations about each item. That information is nothing but first name of the item we will store, and then followed by the quantity, how much quantity it is available, followed by its price per unit. So these three informations we will store about each item. So each row contains information about one item that is there in the supermarket. If supermarket contains n items, you can write n item details in the file. Means n rows. Each row represent one item details. In each row, the first column represent item name, second column represent quantity, third column represents price. Like that we are going to write the item details in the file, and then we read the information from that file and display it on the screen with some more additional columns when we are displaying on the screen. See here the program. Inside the main function I have declared a pointer variable fp, and then fp, here we are using fp to point out the file, to refer the file in which we are writing the items information, and same from the same file we read items information, and then we will display it on the screen. And we declared in the second statement integer variables n represent the number of items available in the supermarket. I is used as a loop control variable and followed by quantity. Qty holds temporarily how much quantity of a particular item is available in the supermarket. And float variables we have declared in the third statement. Price represent the price value of each item, and total represent the total cost of each item. Suppose if you are having a item called soap, and how many, suppose you are having 20 soap boxes, 20 soap boxes in the supermarket, and each soap box cost is 30 rupees. Since you are having 30 soaps, the total cost of the soaps is 30 into, you are having 20 soaps, 30 into 20. Here 30 is the price of each soap, and since you are having 20 soaps, the total cost of soaps is 20 into 30, that is 600 rupees. The total cost of the item, soaps item, is 600 rupees. Means 600 rupees worth of items are there in the supermarket. 600 rupees worth of soaps are there in the supermarket. Grand total is nothing but it is the summation of total cost of all items in the supermarket, means total worth of the supermarket, that is the grand total. Now character, we declared a character variable name which can store a name, means a string of maximum of 20 characters. So this name is used to store item name. Now we are trying to open a file called items.txt file in write mode with the help of fopen function and file pointer fp. Fopen function now opens the file in write mode, and that file is now made to pointed out by the file pointer fp. Now all information to the items.txt file should be written through the file pointer fp. Now let us ask the user how many items are there in the supermarket. The user will enter some value. A supermarket may be containing 50 items or 100 different items. That how many different items are there in the supermarket, that value is entered by the user. So therefore we are instructing the computer to read that integer value and store it in the variable n. Therefore the variable n here, it is representing the number of items that are present, number of different items that are present in the supermarket. Now we are asking the user to enter the item name and quantity of each item and price per unit for each item in a row. Each item detail should be entered in a row. Here we are using a for loop for I equal to 1 to I is less than or equal to n. Means we are trying to read the details of n items, and these details of each item we will read in one stroke about its name, item quantity and item price per unit cost, that we are reading from the user with the help of scanf function. That is first item name, it is a string percentage, and quantity is always integer percentage, and price per unit of that particular item, so it is a float value. And these values we are storing in the name variable and quantity variable and then price variable, and then this information we are writing to the file. So here we have used in the control string first a new line character, means each item details will be written in a new line in the file. We are reserving 20 characters space first to write item name, and 5 characters space to write item quantity, and 10 characters space to write item price. So like that we are using the field specification. So like that item wise from 1 to n all items are read and they are written to the file using fprintf function. So when all items details are read and written to the file, our write operation on the file is over. So therefore you can close the file with the help of fclose function. We are closing the file. Now our aim is to read the item details from the file and we have to display them on the screen. Here we are trying to open the file in the read mode because we would like to read the contents of the file. To read the contents of the file should be opened in read mode. With the help of fopen function and file pointer fp, we are trying to open the file items.txt file in the read mode. Once this file is opened, the file pointer is stored in the variable fp. So fp is made to point out items.txt file. Initially we have assigned g underscore total variable to 0, means the grand total of all items is 0. So each item by item total value we will calculate and we will add it to G total. See here, we are displaying the message on the screen that the item details in the supermarket are. First, we are displaying first column item name, second column item quantity, third column contains item price per unit, and the total cost of those items in the fourth column. So for I equal to 1, I is less than or equal to n, I plus plus, because we know n lines are there in the items.txt file. Each line contains the information about one file. So we are using fscanf function to read. See, same field specifications I am using here to read the data from the file. 20s, first item name, 5d, percent 5d to read quantity value, and percent 10.2f like here we are reading from the file. And these first row details, once they are read from the file and they are stored subsequently in the variables name, variable quantity and variable price. And using this information stored in these three variables, we will calculate the total worth of that item. The total worth of the item is nothing but quantity QTY into multiplied by unit price. Okay, so that will give the worth of the total items. This total items value we will add it to the grand total. Grand total is equal to old grand total value plus total. So and after adding grand total, after calculating grand total, then we will display the item details on the screen in the same order. Like that, I value now incremented by 1, it becomes 2. So 2 is less than or equal to, suppose n value is 50, 2 is less than or equal to 50 is 2. It reads from the second line, next item, second item details, calculates the worth of the second item and it is added to the grand total, and the second item details will be displayed on the screen. Then I value is incremented by 1, means it becomes 3. 3 is less than or equal to, n value is 50. 3 is less than or equal to 50 is 2. It reads third item details, calculate total worth of third item, and that total worth of third item is added to the grand total, and third item details are displayed on the screen. So this process repeats until all n item details, n lines of information is read from the file and it is displayed on the screen. So after displaying all items details on the screen, we also display the total grand total, means the worth of all the items in the supermarket at the bottom of the table, like that. Since our read operation from the file is over, so then we are closing the file. Then our job is done, so therefore we are closing the program. So this is how you can use fprintf function and fscanf function to write formatted data to the file and to read formatted data from the file. So this program you can use as a model for writing the student information to the file or employees information to the file in a specific format, and you can read it. So these programs you can practice. Already the student information, what you have to write, you know, student name, student roll number, followed by scores of the student in 6 subjects. You can store these details to the file and you can display the student information by reading from the file. So like that you can write a program. And similarly you can also write another program for storing employee salary details, like employee code, employee name, and then his basic salary, his HRA, his DA, and then total salary. So that is how you can write to the file and you can read the employee information from the file and display it on the screen. So these programs similarly you can do student information and employee salary information. These programs you can develop on your own using this program which we have discussed just now as a model. Now it is a time to look at the important questions related to this class. Here only 2 important questions are there, that is you have to know the format of fprintf and fscanf function and their functionality and how they are used. All that details you have to write. Explain about fprintf and fscanf function in detail. So whatever the syntax we have discussed and the purpose whatever we have discussed about fprintf, fscanf, and a little example of how to use fprintf and fscanf function, that you have to write. And in the examination if they are asking to write a program using fprintf and fscanf function, you can also write the program. And this program I have asked as a second question. Write a program for reading formatted data from the user and write it to a file. And read formatted data from the file and display it on the screen. So it is a generalized program. So this program, for this second question, you can write items details of the supermarket to a file, or student marks details to a file, or employees salary details to a file, and read that formatted data from the file and display it on the screen. So any program you can write. Here already we have discussed how to store the supermarket item details in the file. Similarly, other two programs you can implement on your own, that is storing student marks information to the file, and other program is storing student employee salary details of an organization to a file. So this is what the important questions related to today's class. I hope all of you have understood this class very well. Still, if you are having doubts, you can ask me on my mobile number 9848919656. Okay, so thank you all for your patience listening.